Hey, everybody, welcome back to a new episode of the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue Podcast. On this episode, we have Neil Tjin of Tjin Designs from, well, Instagram, SEMA, one of the best car designers that you're going to find that does customs for the enthusiast world. Neil, and we also have Rob Anati. Wow, I totally spaced. Rob's he's sitting right in front of me on the monitor, and I was just like totally spaced. That's terrible. That's just terrible. That's just a bad friend.
We all space when we see Rob.
So Neil, is that an accurate description? How would you categorize you? Because your design work is just insane. The vehicles you build are just insane. So how would you categorize yourself?
Well, thank you for the kind words. That is a very humble opening. I'm just a dude who likes cars. And I've been very fortunate. I think we're doing this almost 26 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I started in 96, right when I got out of high school. So I graduated early and it started as a hobby. People have heard this before. Hemmings audience is kind of new, but started as a hobby with my now wife. I mean, we've been together since high school. And then my younger brother, who also builds and designs for SEMA cars. So I'm just a dude who likes cars. I've been very fortunate. I think we've done so many cars that I've learned how to get better. And one thing, even as being a magazine editor, I've never been afraid to learn. And I don't think I'm this great guy. So I've learned from hot rodders, street rodders. As Rob knows, I grew up in Miami. I moved in 2003 to California, so there was the lowrider Bajito tour. I don't know if I said that right, but so I would study like undercarriages of cars and different things like that. So I took all those elements. I like clean, I like functional. I think you guys know I drive all my SEMA cars, which back in the day was like, oh, SEMA cars are just SEMA cars. And
dude,
I think it was
that was me.
Yeah.
That was me. I was the guy that for the first time I ever went to SEMA, I was like, these things are great. And then you'd look at them and they'd be like, there's no drivetrain. I was like, what is this crap?
Yeah. Or you push them in, So it was after my son was born in 2008. I kind of changed my mindset. And I think I learned in like the early 2000s, I had the first 4-door R34 Skyline in the country. And it was like that. Back then people couldn't tune RB motors and you couldn't get parts from Japan. So probably a year or so, we pushed the Skyline and I hated it. At the hot import nights, the SEMA, up the ramp at SEMA. And it was like, ugh. So I think that was a big change. And now I think we've done almost 30 Ford builds.
Wow.
And they all drive.
Yes, sir. But before we jump into all the builds, because you got 34, we're going to cover some. How did you get into it, right? Because obviously there's a massive car scene there are certain pockets in the United States where the car scene is just different, right? You have New York, you have Miami, you have Los Angeles, you have the Bay, you've got Chicago, you've got, Kansas City and Atlanta and things like that. How did you get into cars as a whole? And how did you know, like you said, you were in high school. When did you know that this is a profession that I want to be in? And then more importantly, when you first started as a designer, incorporating your own sense of aesthetics and elements into vehicles, when did you first think there might be a career here? How did you start?
Well, I never thought it was going to be a career. I probably had a better chance playing sports. Now, so in high school, I was really into sports. Like I said, I met my now wife in junior year, junior year, so early. And I had a car, and I don't think it was to impress her. I think
what sports?
Basketball.
Okay, you're a basketball player.
Basketball, yeah.
How tall are you?
5'10". That's why I didn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. And I went. And
Rob, that makes sense.
And I'm not that. Well, now 5'10" is different than when we were growing up. 5'10".
Yeah.
And like so.
Anyway,
with car stuff, it was. I wanted my first set of wheels, and this was high school back in '95.
For what kind of car?
It was an Eagle Vision. Google.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Eagle Vision.
Yes. Yeah. And then I went into Acuras. But I saved for an Eagle Vision, and it was a big green boat, kind of like a street rod or a hot rod nowadays, long and big. So I wanted a set of wheels. Couldn't afford a set of wheels, so I saved for a year. I drank a Pepsi and a pack of Skittles. And that's why I have this amazing body, 123 pounds since high school. And I was the first guy in my high school that had a set of 17-inch wheels. TSW Stealths. Yeah. And
I love you still remember.
Yeah, TSW, the 5-spoke. So, and then I met my wife. I just wanted a cool car. She wasn't in the cars. So I got my wheels. And then I think a year later, I sold it and I bought an Acura Legend.
Sure.
And then I got some chrome MHT splits. I don't know.
Like,
I was in
like a 2-door Legend?
No, it was a 4-door. I've always been a 4-door guy. 4-door
okay, I'm down.
And
yeah, I'm down. I like 4-doors.
Yeah, I've always I was the first 4-door sedan Skyline. People didn't even know it existed. And then it kind of went. And then my wife got an Accord. My brother had an Accord, and then we started doing Prelude swaps with one of my best friends back home. This was all in Miami in the early 90s. And then I don't want to keep the story too long, but then, East Coast, like you said, there's all these pockets.
Yeah.
You named them: Miami, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago were the big East Coast ones. And then Atlanta, Nopi, the Nopi Nationals. Jesus, I feel old. The Nopi Nationals in the 90s, the Super Street Tour.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's going to sound funny saying this, but we were these 3 Asian kids in Florida, and we started driving to Moroso and then Nopi. And then people started taking notice, and it's no joke. It's as funny as it sounds. Who are these 3 Asian kids driving up and down the East Coast? Remember, no trailers. This one, even when I met Rob back in the day, there were no trailers.
Right.
So we would drive from Miami after the Legend, I went to a 3.2 TL. And that car put me on the map. It was yellow, don't laugh, had a saline wing, M3 mirrors, a full roll cage.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
This is 96. I'll show you pictures. First set of wheel sights from Japan. And then I actually flew from Miami to Sacramento. I don't even know if there was no FedEx or UPS in the 90s, but I took a suitcase with all my suspension, flew to Sacramento, and ground control built the first set of coilovers. Dude, you guys are making me feel old. I don't even remember yes. So me and my brother.
Dude, what are you talking about? We're like the same age. Like, if anybody have you seen my face?
Yeah.
Have you seen me got a great on my face?
I'm gonna be a barber, so I shaved. But yeah, so imagine. So in the 90s, I'm assuming there was FedEx, but for some reason I took I took all the TL suspension, flew to Sacramento, ground control built the first set of coilovers for the TL. And then we ended up doing the Accord. Nice. So I'll fast forward real quick. We were building cool cars. And then some of the names from Craig Lieberman back in the day, Jim Stobie that worked for Toyo. I mean, these are 90s guys. So they started seeing us, and we became the first guys and girls in Florida to get sponsored. Now you call it partnerships, but no one in Florida was doing this. And then I met the editors of Super Street. So we were one of the first guys. And this is crazy. Back then, there was only Moroso, before Hot Important Nights came in the late 90s. So we would have to fly editors out there and fly photographers. But we started building the exposure. And then there's not many companies in Florida. So I was in the sports. So I worked at Champs and Foot Locker for a couple of years selling shoes. I was a hustler. I made a lot of money on commission. I was selling thousands of shoes.
Right.
That's a whole nother story.
That's good.
Real quick. I tell Colin, you only used to be able to sell 6 shoes at a time because of Nikes.
Yeah.
Guys, I was selling to a customer overseas thousands.
Wow.
I figured the loophole. I was making bank. So I ended up selling 9,000 pairs of shoes in one summer.
Oh my God.
Do the commission numbers.
Yeah.
So that paid for my car hobby.
Yeah.
So, and then there was a company, they're not around anymore, in West Palm Beach called Toucan Industries. They sold knickknacks, lights, neon lights, turbo mufflers.
Right.
I started entry level kind of sales, getting used to it. Then they saw my capabilities in marketing, came to marketing director. We started building show cars for Toucan Industries, who had a relationship with Mazda. And that started Hardcore Nights and stuff like that. So I was there till the early 2000s. And then Buckaroo, which was competing with Prime Media and EMAP, started a magazine called HCI Magazine. They asked me if I was willing to move to California to run, at the time, one import magazine. Ended up becoming two. The other one was BC. I had just gotten married in 2001. The wife's like, no, we knew nobody out here. We had a couple of friends, but we came out to like import show off. So we ended up moving. Just me and my wife. My brother followed a couple months later. And that's how California came to be. And I was running the magazine for a couple of years till print died. And
Wait.
Can't say print died. We've got 3 killer magazines, so we're good.
Well, the tuner side died.
The tuner side.
True. It did.
The classic hobby is still super strong.
No, you guys are strong. Street rod, hot rod, but import tuner, turbo.
Right, that died.
That all died. Yeah.
And it sucked because it was good.
Right.
So I ran that for a couple of years. And like I said, how did I know it was going to become a business? I got really lucky. I think you work hard and you're fortunate. You meet people like I've known Rob for 15, 20 years. But in 2004, I was approached. I had a friend. His name was Andy Goodman. He ran the NCCA, which did all the judging on the sports compact side. So I probably went to about, I'm going to say I've done over 1,000 car shows all over the world.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
UK, we did Hardcore Nights, Jakarta, Montreal, all over the world. So Andy reached out to me in 2004, and Turtle Wax wanted to buy my 240. I had built a 240 in Miami, and then we moved out here. It won
4-door?
Yes, we added 2 extra doors. Why is Rob on this podcast? Why are we still friends? My 4-door 240 won a bunch of best of shows on the East Coast, Philadelphia. So Turtle Wax wanted to buy it, and they were looking for a tuner brand ambassador, the urban side, which was Funkmaster Flex.
Yep.
And
Sure.
sports
I remember that. Yeah.
And then, so we had the Turtle Wax tour, the Get Wax tour, and we did shows all over the country. I was the brand ambassador. We painted the the 240 green. So stuff started really taking off. Like I said, I really think, like this is what I tell everybody. I'm not any more special than anybody else. I didn't grow up around cars. It was always sports. I just like what I do. I had a passion for it. So I always try to over deliver. As you guys know, I work 24/7. I'm texting you guys at 12 at night as we're working. But you know, so it was just really work. And then from the Get Wax tour, stuff started taking off. I actually went home. When I say home, I went back to Florida in 2006 for Hardcore Nights. Oh, so after the tour, the Get Wax tour, went for 2 years. Was making some pretty good money. Back then, the money was better, as you guys know, in partnerships. Then we started the Tjin Edition tour. Yeah. Turtle Wax wanted to expand.
Yep.
Got a big truck and trailer. So we started the Tjin Edition tour in 2006, right after we had 2 Turtle Wax tours, one with the Skyline and one with the 240. And then from there, we started the Tjin Edition tour, the Tjin Edition Roadshow. And quickly how that came together, gosh, I've done a lot of stuff. I've been very
You have. You have done an enormous amount of stuff.
As I think about it, you know, so we worked, I'm sure you know, Mike, you remember Naira and NDRA?
Of course.
So I don't want to admit this now, but me, my wife, my brother, one of my best friends, Emilio, we were the tech editors. So we did all the tech for Naira and NDRA, fuel checks, inspections. I'll put this out here. That wasn't my cup of tea. The money was good. So what do you do when you don't know what you don't know? I brought in Emilio. He ran a business in Florida, super smart, knew everything about motors. He did our Prelude swaps, knew how to measure gas. Yeah. I was the pretty face. I didn't know.
Right.
And we did it for probably 5 or 6 years. So we would see Sean Carlson, Steph, BC, all these racers across the country with these big truck and trailers. And I'm like, how are you guys doing this? I go, no disrespect to you racers, but us show guys can get as much impressions as you guys can.
Oh, yeah, easily.
So I was the first guy to put this together. Truck and trailer, show cars, partners, very similar. Now you laugh. It's exactly what Vaughn does on his Fun Haver tour.
Yeah.
Sure, of course.
You know, and I've known Vaughn a long time too. So when he put it together, but that's how the road show started. You know, I would see all these drag racers at these NYRA events, and I'm like, why don't we do this on the show side?
Yeah.
You know, so we did that for 05, and we're still doing it now. It's hard to travel cross country. It's very expensive, but we do the road show. We have a West Coast section, which is just up and down the West Coast. And then my East Coast guys, I still have an office in Pennsylvania. But, you know, it was never going to be a job. I'm lucky it turned into one. Yeah. I worked at Toucan for a little, and then I worked at the magazine, but that was from the road. And then my last real job, I was the marketing director at Vortex Superchargers, Michael, you're familiar with. So I was there for 5 or 6 years, worked with Jimmy and those guys, which was fun, but they're in Oxnard, which is a couple hours away. And as the kids got older, it just got tough.
Yeah.
So still good friends with them. They make amazing products. And I've really been on my own. You know, I work for myself. I'm half dad, half work. So, and that's the balance I've been lucky to do. And I wouldn't trade that for the world.
So let me ask you this. So you know, starting off in the 90s, I mean, that's when car culture, you know, really hit, right? When you talk about kind of the import scene. Obviously, 2001, Fast and Furious came out. You mentioned Craig Lieberman, which really kind of, being an East Coast guy, like growing up in New York, it was hardcore. There was a tuner scene, but it was really kind of hardcore muscle, right? Like if you were driving something
and drag racing,
it was all drag racing, right?
Well, you were, yes.
So you had muscle cars that started to kind of branch into what we now call pro touring, right? Or, you know, I don't even know that that's a phrase anymore, but because that's what we had. And we would look at the import cars and be like, what are these little things? And then we go to the drag strip and be like, oh shit, they're kicking the crap out of us. Like,
they're fast. Yeah.
They're fast. But Fast and Furious came out and it just exploded. So the fact that you were into this prior to that kind of, I want to say, import revolution here in the States is an amazing thing. But then we talk about SEMA, right? And, you know, you go to SEMA, and as we all know, a lot of the cars when you get to SEMA simply don't run. Okay. That was a major pet peeve for me, because going to SEMA, my whole thing is I don't own a truck or a trailer. So if I go somewhere, I'm driving. It's just, you know, it is what it is. You have to. So how important was that for you? And you know, we're working on a project right now with Neil that we're going to reveal a little bit later. But and I'm going to talk about a little bit what you do. When Neil designs, it's function, form, performance. I don't know if it's in that order, but everything has to work. And for us, especially here at Hemmings, like we want to be able to drive our vehicles. That yes, they have to look good, but more importantly, everything has to function as it should. As an enthusiast, and I think Rob feels the same way. If you put something on a vehicle, I don't care if it's a hood scoop or an air intake or if it is not functional, get it off the vehicle. I'm all for aesthetics if they improve it from a functionality standpoint. I'm all for add-ons if they improve the vehicle for a functionality standpoint. And I think that's one of the things, Neil, that you incorporate in all of your designs. So if somebody points to something and says, what does that do? You're like, well, this does this because of this, this, and this, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot to cover there. I'll start in the beginning with the whole Fast and Furious and Craig thing. So the funny part, and Craig is an acquired taste, and I'm assuming if he sees this, he knows. He still lives close to me, but it started with the Super Street Tour. So don't laugh. I was probably 18, and Craig will remember this. The Super Street Tour started in California, Miami, and New York. I followed Craig in my black TL the entire 12 hours. I was a hawk.
Wow.
He was in his yellow Supra. This was
Yeah.
Neil. He would park at the gas station. This was me. He would park here. So we actually became friends. And that's why I painted my TL yellow. Same color as a Supra.
You were stalking him? Is that what you're saying?
Straight up stalker.
Okay.
Creepy, Rob. Like if I say it now, I'm like, Jesus, my wife should have left me. Creepy stalker.
Right.
And I think it was also learning like exposure. Craig was the Supra. Everybody was following the Supra.
Yeah.
Now, for those out there and who listen who might not know who Craig is, tell us who Craig is, Neil.
So quick. So he was
just quick.
Jesus, I don't even know where to start. He built the Supra for Fast and Furious. He did movie cars, which I did with him. He built the R34. He was the marketing director at Magnaflow. I think he did some stuff with Maguire's. I don't even know his whole history. I built a bunch of cars with him when I moved out here.
So we could surmise and say Craig Lieberman is another designer that works in television and movies and is responsible for some of the Fast and Furious cars. How's that?
Yes, he's done a ton. Yeah, so I followed him. I met him, and then he was the guy who brought me out here, HCI, but I lived with Craig for 6 months with my wife and his wife at the time and bought a house down here in Orange County. But the funny part, so he has the Supra. I get a phone call, early 2000s. I'm working on this movie. I'm like, okay, cool. Can you get me Bomex? And back before Fast and the Furious, there were very few people getting stuff from Japan. So Bomex, VL side, I think RJ did some VL side. We built 27 Bomex cars prior to Fast and the Furious.
Wow.
We met the owner. His name was Mikado and Masa. They're still around, actually. And my wife had the first Accord. My brother had the next Accord. My 240 was full Bomex. Long story short, Craig calls me. We get Bomex on Craig's Supra for the movie. So that sets up a whole whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
They were in Miami filming part 2. So we had some cameos in part 2, cars and people with some other friends of ours from other crews. So that's kind of the Fast and Furious story. And then I think they were on the Bomex Civics. So the Fast and Furious thing was a whole thing that took off. But we were into Japanese stuff way before.
That's my question. So what drew you to the Japanese stuff as opposed to the either the Euro imports, the Italian imports, or the American stuff? Why essentially Japanese stuff?
I think imports. Yeah, so imports. So it was, remember growing up it was Civics and it was Acuras. And then my wife had an Accord. We were sedans. And that kind of took off. So probably 2010 when the domestic stuff came in. So now, I have my Skyline, I have a Honda Acti, but I do a lot for Ford. But it was always, I hate the term back to the JDM stuff, but it was always Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
And then I wanted a 240, and my 240 was actually built in conjunction with the Fast and Furious stuff. So we built it in 01 and debuted it in 03. And then, when we moved out here, and then it just continued because I told you I went home in 2006. I was actually back on the East Coast, and I get a phone call from Honda. Hey, would you like to start building for us? I'm like, what the frick? I had done some stuff for Scion.
Yep.
In 03, there were 2 TCs built in 03. Troy from 5 Axis built a green wide body one, and we built a red wide body one. So we were the first 2 to build TCs in the States. So that was that continued the tuner stuff. Honda found out about us in 06. And then in 2006, they started asking us to build for their SEMA booth.
And that's when I think I met you, Neil, probably 06, because we built a TC for Car Domain in 06.
Yes. So I was doing some stuff for Siren and Honda. And then, that continued the tuner stuff. And then it went into 2008, GM found me.
Yeah, you did some Camaros.
Yeah, Camaros, Solstice, the G8. And the funny thing, don't laugh at this either, but they were looking for diversity. GM wanted, I'm not going to say someone Asian, but they did.
Someone not white.
Yeah. So I didn't want to say that, Rob. I'll let you say that, Rob. But, and it worked. They were.
I just remembered your G8. That thing was awesome.
Yeah, that won a design award. That was Vortex Supercharged.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite builds that I would have kept because it was a sedan, but the money
was
was
green,
good.
Right? All your stuff's green.
A lot. That one was the navy, the matte blue.
Okay.
So Neil,
yes, sir.
let me ask you. So just from the process, right? A client comes to you and says, Neil, excuse me, Neil, I've got this idea for a vehicle, right? It's a truck, it's a car, it's a this, it's a that. What I wanted to do is this, this, and this, right? And that could either be, now I'm assuming it's OEM stuff or tuner, things like that. What is your process? So if somebody comes to you and says, Neil, I've got this idea, how do we execute this? How do you go about taking a raw vehicle from the idea stage all the way up to the finished product? How does that work?
So I'll be honest with you, I don't really do it for clients anymore. I do it for guys like you and people because the money wasn't good. You know, when I moved here, me and Craig did a lot of, but you got to think about, you're working 3 months for someone you probably won't please. You know, oh, the color is wrong.
Sure.
And then at the end you make, you make $7 for like our project. I do stuff for Porsche. You know, I do the stuff I mostly do for myself. And then if it's a specialty project like yourself, for Hemmings, of course, for Rob, anything. We did some stuff for Auto Nation and then like Porsche. So what I do, we started talking. We'll take a vehicle and literally just envision it completely redone. And the one thing I do is if I do a project, I'm all in. So from concept, from budgeting to project management, we've got all the shops here in SoCal, paint shops, interior.
Yeah.
Example, you call me and you say, I envision this as my ultimate tow vehicle. Literally, it's all turnkey for you. We go from concepts. We've got some of the best rendering guys in the business, Chris Horton, guys we work with where it looks real. You know, we present it to you as the client.
Literally, yeah.
And then we budget everything. I work with all our partners, your partners, the shops. I as you guys know, I over deliver. I recap everything, photos, emails, just because you guys aren't here. It's what I would want.
Sure.
And I think that's why I've made it so long. I want to be I treat you guys how I'd want to be treated. Just a simple photo. Yes, sir.
Are you enjoying the process? So for instance, now, you know, doing it for 25 plus years, is the process still exciting for you? Is the process of designs still exciting? Is the process of doing the execution and seeing this, which, you know, what was originally the idea come to fruition as a driving, moving, you know, vehicle? Does that still really excite you?
Yeah, it does. You know what? There was a little bit of not a dull moment, you know, maybe in between, like, you know, the NBA season's super long and it gets a little, maybe a little bit, but not really. I mean, we've been lucky with the OEM stuff to do a lot of the new stuff, you know, like the Mach-E that we did the interview with you guys. That was all electric. This year, we're working on some new electric stuff. I winked to bigger than the Mach-E. You could put it together, you know, so there's some really cool stuff. My son is getting into it. So I'd say, yeah, I mean, even your stuff, you know, the stuff we're doing, I'm still giddy when I get renderings, you know, before our call this morning, I'm still giddy. We're going to the shop. I'm putting a new front end on the Mach-E. So yeah, I think so. You know what? It's seeing, as for a client, what you have in your mind, building your dream. Yeah. And then for me, it's seeing something and seeing it come together. But then for SEMA and even my Skyline, it's not about being better than anybody. It's about being better than I was last year. So every year I've learned, you know, we won Best of Show in the Ford booth, which I didn't think was possible. We did it 1 year for GM. Now, how do we take everything we learned last year, work with the Ford designers? Yeah. Like I said, we always want to learn. How do we become better? You know, what does it take? So that still excites me. You know, I built the first 4-door Skyline in 2005. I'm building one now. How do I build it better? But Mike, you'll like this. That one was not functional at all. It was 1,200 horsepower, had a 200-point roll cage. Yeah. It sounded like a NASCAR. I loved it. It was stupid. It was stupid. I couldn't even start it in my driveway. My whole neighborhood. It's like, what are you doing? So now it's functional. I have 2 racing seats, but I kept the rear seats for the kids. I did updated seat belts since the car is a 99. Yeah. I'm not putting a 2,000 horsepower motor. You
Sure.
know, build the motor. I would like to do an electric motor later to stay with technology, but it has to be functional.
Yeah, let me ask you about electric real quick, because like, so you kind of got all your guys you go to for these builds, and when you started bringing all your guys electric cars, what was the reaction? Are the guys like, geez, are they excited about it? Like, you know what I mean?
Excited, but what were they thinking?
Yeah.
Like even the Mach-E, Rob, we didn't get to link up at SEMA, but I'll give you a quick rundown on the Mach-E. So it's all electric. You know, I've done some stuff for Porsche with the Taycan, but it's supposed
just
to
so
be
the audience knows, the Mach-E is a quote unquote Mustang, four-door electric Mustang.
Electric Mustang, and it's very good. I will say it's very good.
Yeah, my apologies. Yes, it is a newer 4-door Mustang. You know, so and Tjin built a 2-door traditional Mustang. So we had an old and new Mustang, a 2-door and a 4-door,
right?
Electric and non-electric. But you know, so we got it, and we're excited. We didn't know anything about it, but it and Ford knows this. I think if you go back to the interview you guys did with us with Steve and myself, it was a lot of work because one, we were the first ones, besides Vaughn, who was a Mach-E race car, spaceship. We were the first ones to do a daily driver show car.
Yeah.
You know, and like I told you, my wife is going to drive it every day. So talking about function. So building the wheels, I had to fly to Miami. Vossen had to take measurements. First one with front and rear bare brake brakes. You know, the full first one on airlift suspension. First one with solar panels. Everything was a first. First one with Recaros. First one with GT headlight conversion.
So you're saying all this stuff, right? You're saying solar panels, air suspension, all this stuff. Is there anything that you don't think is possible? So for like the custom world, when you start customizing these vehicles, and somebody says the electric vehicles, but also it'll translate to standard petrol powered vehicles as well. Is there anything in your mind that you're like, I don't know if I could do that? Or do you just do you feel that anything is possible? Like, no, why can't I do this?
Yeah, I mean, we have really talented shops. I mean, I don't think a car could fly right now, and I probably can't make it a boat. But anything else from a fabrication standpoint, again, we've been very lucky. 26 years, we've met a lot of cool people. So, and every year, like you just asked, like this year, I met some people from Ford. I don't know if I should name drop. Don't try to find them, but they're awesome. And the Mach-E was so over the top. You know, solar panel roof, solar panel louvers, everything electric. And you sit at SEMA, and this year was my best SEMA by a mile. I know it wasn't as busy, but I usually walk around, meet people. I did not leave the Ford booth from Sunday load-in till Friday when my family got here. It was just, you couldn't. It was interviews. It was talking to people. And and Rob knows, I love to talk, but I love to walk. Yeah. And even Ford, I've been in the booth 12 years now. They're like, we've never seen so much of your ugly face. And I just, I couldn't leave. And the more people we met, to answer your question, it's more and more cool stuff came up. Different kind of plexiglass, different kind of plastic materials. And you're like, so for this new build, we'll just call it a truck, and it's electric. You could put it together. There's even more stuff you can do.
Right.
With the front is twice as big as the Mach-E. The rear, now you could put solar panels on actuators. You can hide batteries. You know, everything is lithium now.
So I guess my question, like are electric vehicles, are they a threat to the hobby, or are they actually super awesome for the hobby? I mean, you know what I mean?
No, I think they're awesome. I mean, Vortex was all V8, big power. Like I said, my Skyline was an RB 1200 horsepower. My best to show Camaro in 09 was 757 street horsepower every day, you know, spinning gears, 24s on the freeway. And now it's kind of going electric, but you'd laugh. So I think I shared it with you, Rob. So Colin, my son, who you know, he's into performance. So he drifts with Vaughn. He's more on the old school side, like us. So another car, truck, Wink, I don't think you can see it on TV, on the radio, but Wink that we're doing for Ford is more performance based. So big intercooler, side mount exhaust, oil cooler, roll cage, air jacks, completely different than an electric car, you know? So I think I honestly see it working hand in hand. Mike, I know you've driven some electric cars. The Tesla's the Tesla. It's kind of, not going to say play now, but the Taycan is insane.
Amazing. Just outstanding. You
have to sell your house to buy one. And one of my best friends works at Porsche. And even with him, I have to sell my house. But,
that thing's amazing.
We drove him through the canyons of Ortega. And it's insane. So, I mean.
Well, there are certain companies that just get it. And it's like, it's funny. Rob and I have had the same discussion for a billion years, right?
Yeah.
Like when we talk about if you want to buy a car and you want to have fun, you've got a couple of choices, right? If you're, and it can be used or new. If you're 40,000 or under, you buy a Camaro, you buy a Mustang, you buy a Miata. That's it.
Yep.
Those are your choices, right? For performance. If you've got some money, you just buy a Porsche. That's it. Just go buy a Porsche.
And that's Orange County.
Like, right.
Not me, Orange County. But that's no, you're right. And that's what I think that it's what it's moved to. And they're amazing. So I think electric, I mean, next year, when you guys come to SEMA, you got to try to take a ride and drive in Vaughn Smoky. So I went, and then my son and my wife went. And I'm not kidding. I've been in drift cars. Mike, you've been in quarter mile cars. I thought I was going to die. He did some G-force. You could see me, some G-force spinning.
Yeah.
And we've known Vaughn a long time. And if he probably goes a second or two faster doing donuts, I might have fainted. And then the next day, my son went. He's been in every one of Vaughn's drift cars.
Yeah.
Vaughn's like, send a parental figure. So I'm like, F it, I'll send my wife. If you see it from the outside, it's even crazier. But it's all electric. And the crazy thing, when you go fast in a normal car, V8, you hear it. You hear the spooling. You don't hear anything in the electric, so you don't know what's happening. You don't know when we're taking off. You don't know when so it's totally new.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the cool part, I think more people are embracing it. Ford said at SEMA, you know, eventually their booth is going to be more than 50% electric.
Yep.
Which is completely crazy for Ford, who is the Mustang, it's the F-150. So I think it's changing. I think it's super cool. I think stuff is getting more functional, which we talked about, Mike. You know, same thing. Like you used to trailer the skyline of San Francisco. Now I drive it. People are like, you drive 7 hours? It's a car. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what to tell people.
I think what you're telling people is the right thing. I mean, we're, you know, a lot of people that listen know, but like my Daytona is getting built right now. That's a 50-plus-year-old car that's going to have, you know, 1,000 horsepower, and it's being built at, you know, over 1,000 horsepower. It's in Michigan right now getting built. And everybody's like, you're going to trailer it back? I was like, no, I'm going to fly to Michigan
and drive it,
get in it, and I'm going to drive it back to California. But before I go to California, I'm probably going to go to Miami to see my friend Vin. And then I'm probably going to go to Texas to see my buddy Chris. And then I'll go to LA, and then I'll drive it back. Actually, maybe I'll go to New York because I want my dad to see it. I want my mom and dad to see it. So like, so this is what you do. And this is what people have to get out of their heads, right? If it has 4 wheels, if it's an EV, if it's petrol, the fact that you are not driving it is ridiculous. And it's funny. We have right now up on auction, we have these 2 Cudas up there. We've got these, I mean, they are the best of the best Cuda, like 4-speed Hemi car, you know, 71, stunning. And I posted one of them up on Instagram, and everybody said, well, that's a shame. You wouldn't be able to drive it.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I had the money to buy that car, one of those cars, literally the first thing I do, I would scratch the quarter panel underneath so it's not perfect. Now it's a used car.
Yeah, you could drive.
And I would drive the ever-loving crap out of it. And I tell people this all the time. Why are you saving your car for the next owner?
Yeah,
what
really.
is the point of doing that? Get out. That's why I love what you do so much, because you are such a proponent of function, performance, design, but more importantly, getting out and driving the vehicles, which is just more people have to do that as opposed to just saying, we're going to make them look It's like, what are you doing? Like, yes, they can look good.
It's a crime. And I get it. Back in the day, the technology and the experience, I guess, or just playing with certain things wasn't there. And I get it. Even, gosh, when I built my 240, people couldn't tune an SR20, you know, and this was what, 20 something years ago. I had to tune it when I got to California. Same thing with the RB. Now it's LSs. I think the electric is now, you know, talking to people here, Ford is offering some electric crate motors, which I think is going to be super cool. You know, cool. So who's going to install them? What are they going in?
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that's the next evolution. You know, maybe not this year, maybe a year or two, I'll put an electric motor in the Skyline because I can. But I think, like you said, that's the biggest thing. It's the funniest story. You guys seen my little Honda Acti truck. It's literally the size of your hat. It only goes 40 miles an hour. It's got a motorcycle motor, and I drive it. It's a 2-seater. I drive it with my daughter, and it's hilarious. The amount of stupid thumbs up people stick in their head. Even yesterday, I just drove it to the grocery store. I drive it all local.
Yeah.
And it's like guys in Porsches, thumbs up. You think it's a Lamborghini. It's a $4 Acti truck, but I drive it. It's a Porsche color, not Porsche car. You know, it goes 4 miles an hour. It's literally 5 feet long. But why would I build that and not drive it?
Correct.
I don't, you know, and like I said, I think that's what I've learned. And even working with guys like you. So I think it comes back full circle. In the early 90s, I had to drive. You'd laugh. We would be in Miami. We would drive to Philly for Hot Airport nights. We drive home to go to school, and there's a show in Chicago. You jump in the car, you put gas, you put your luggage in the trunk, and you drive to Chicago. Then you come home, and there was NDRA in Philly, in New Jersey. What do? You can't trailer it.
Right.
You just drive it.
How is it different now from when you started? Because we're actually we're almost at an hour. Like, this is blazed. How is it different now? So because again, the automotive scene has changed substantially since, you know, we had the 1950s into the 60s and the muscle car era. Then we got into the late 70s, smog stuff, went through the 1980s with EFI. The 90s went back into performance with big V8s, as did the early 2000s and mid 2000s. Now we're evolving into EVs and things of that nature. How is it for people getting into the industry now from a design standpoint for the type of stuff that you do? Do you think it's more difficult now? Do you think the competition is much greater now? And are you, as a designer and a builder, do you get a lot of questions from kids going, hey, Neil, I followed you for so long. I love your stuff. How do I do what you do? Or how do I aspire to do what you do?
Yeah. So to answer your last question first, yes, DMs, SEMA, and unfortunately, I love talking. So that's why I have no voice. Thanks, Rob. But yeah, I mean, always, you know, and for me, it was never, I didn't go to school for it. You know, I started working really young for my dad. So that taught me to work hard. I like the life experiences. You know, I'm sure school's great. It just wasn't for me. So yeah, definitely telling people, people asking questions, and I never not answer. I'm probably too nice. I don't have a filter. So even if I give away trade secrets, again, guys like Craig, RJ were my mentors, excuse me, growing up. So I want to be that to people younger than me.
Sure.
You know, ask. So yes, definitely. And now with social, you know, Instagram, there's way more questions than when we did it. So that's kind of cool.
There's access, right? There's more access. Yeah, to some degree. It's like a double-edged sword though, right? With social, it's kind of weird. It's like too much.
Yeah, well, that was, you know, Mike's question. How is it? I think it's more competitive because more people have access and want to do it.
Yeah.
But for me, as long as you're good, you're going to be good. So to me, it doesn't matter if I go against 5,000 proposals or 5. Yeah. I have to be better than I was.
Yeah.
And I know if I'm better than I was, I should be okay. but I like the competition. And even Ford every year brings in new builders.
Sure.
And this is what they tell all of us, there's 20 something of us. If you don't step up, you get replaced.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's life. And that works good as a parent. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to keep doing well. So I think, yes, love answering questions. I think there's more competition. There's more accessibility. There's Google. We didn't have Google growing up. You used to have to go to a store to pick out a set of wheels. Now it's all online. So I think that's good. And then just to your question of how things have changed, and I think it's going in the right direction. I mean, at SEMA, you're seeing even the street rod and hot rod guys keep pushing the envelope. What's crazy is to see how far it can go. Because you look back into what we did 20 years ago, where's it going to be when my kid's 30?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the exciting part. And honestly, we get to play with cars and we get to meet cool people. I just linked up with you. I've known Rob well over a decade. We've done a lot of cool stuff together. And it's making friends. I mean, look, we get to do this for a living. What the frick?
Sure.
It doesn't, we get to play with cars. We get to build cool stuff.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. People like, even my daughter, she's 11 now. What do you do for work? I'm like, she's like, you play with cars? I'm like, kinda. Yeah. And
talk on the phone a lot.
Yeah. I'm always on the phone in the car but I think that's like Rob said, it's a blessing and a curse because that's what's kept me doing this for 26 years. I'll give you a quick story to wrap it up. In 2001, I think Scion 2002, they flew out 10 top builders. I consider myself more a designer. I have a team. And there were 10 of us, all big names. I was the only East Coast guy. I flew from Miami. And I tell people this all the time. It's been a couple years. And you remember the name LJ Garcia. He was a spokesperson. There were 10 of us under him, coming up in the scene. It was only my 5th, 6th year. The sad part, there were 10 of us. I'm the only one left. And it's crazy because
Survivor, man.
We all had families. I think for me, it's just staying in the industry. And if you over deliver, make good on your promises and build cool shit,
it sounds to me also from what I've heard you say throughout this, you keep talking about your wife, right? A lot of support, and she's kind of your partner in the business as well, right? I mean, she's been a huge part of this.
Yeah. So you've known May as long as you've known me. She wasn't in the cars either, but her car was actually the first Tjin edition car at SEMA. It was a Bomex Accord. 99. Wow. Yeah, this is my 2030. Yeah, so her car, Bomex, the owners of Japan, but yeah, Rob, she does the smart stuff, the money and the accounting.
That's critical. Without that, you're toast.
Yeah, I don't even see the bank account. Yeah, but she's always been supportive. Rob's seen her at shows. I mean, now with the kids, not as much, but shoot, all the shows, all the builds. She makes me sell my cars. I'd have 30 cars in the driveway, but that's the only negative. And she enjoys it. Like she drove the hybrid Ioniq for 2 years. She'll get the Mach-E. They always come to SEMA, the kids and her. So
that's awesome.
It's been a family thing. My brother's been into this. He works in the industry, so he's been in it since 96. He's only 15 months younger than me. And then all my close friends, I mean, shop owners, my closest friends. I have 2 sets of friends. I have basketball dads and car dads. And then I'm kind of the overlap. But then my basketball dads, all basketball guys want cool cars.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So it's a good overlap. And like I said, the best thing is building cars and hanging out and talking to people like you guys and, meeting new friends and doing cool stuff. I mean, there's not much more we can ask for.
So, all right. So we are coming up. We actually blazed through an hour. Where can, and I'm sure we could talk for another 2 hours very easily. Where can people find you? Like, I know where to find you. Rob knows where to find you. Where can people find if they want to learn about Neil Tjin, about what you do, see photographs and videos of what you do? Where is your best social outlets?
Yeah. So Instagram right now, which is Tjin Edition, TJIN, and then Edition. Or honestly, if you Google me, there's only one Neil Tjin, which that again could be a blessing or a curse, but Google, but I'm so easy accessible. That's what I tell, that's another thing that I tell my clients. It's like, you can always find me. And
Right.
I always
Call
answer my phone.
Yeah.
Call my cell or email. So like I said, and then a lot now on social, they DM me or they'll email me or send me a message. But just like a lot of the Tjin Edition stuff now is just when you Google Tjin Edition or you go on our Instagram or social pages, and I reply to everybody. I think my wife hates it sometimes, but like I said, you never know one person. I got some breaks. Like I tell people, even meeting Rob, some of it is fate, could be, but meeting the right people, meeting Craig, who put me in touch with this guy, or meeting Andy.
Hey man,
Goodman.
Rob got me started in this industry. Like,
see,
I mean, he did. Rob's the guy that got me into this. Rob is the silent assassin in the automotive industry. Because Rob knows everyone and he never says anything. Like, you're like, hey, Rob, I want to get in touch. He's like, oh, I know that guy. I'm like, how do you know that guy? He's like, I know that guy.
Well, he's been an OG. He's been an OG for so long.
Totally. But he's the OG that doesn't get, like, he's like, don't talk about me.
Well, he's kind of retired now. He's on his, I think he's
on
a
a yacht
retired.
Right now.
His background's a yacht right now. It looks like he's in Fiji. I'm squinting my eyes, but that's what it's about, So for us, look at us connecting through Rob, So for us,
absolutely,
if I can help one person.
Yep. Oh no!
Whoa,
right at the end.
That's amazing.
Right at the end. Oh no! I gotta get a screenshot of this. Hang on. I gotta get the greatest Neil Tjin screenshot. All right, I got it. So everybody, Neil froze, and I might have to put this up on my Instagram or something like that because it is the greatest picture of Neil in the history. We'll show this. So I'm sure he's freaking out trying to dial back in. And Rob and I are crying because this face is amazing.
Oh my God.
But we'll give him another 2 seconds. But listen, for anybody that wants to get in contact with Neil or find out what he does, go to Tjin Edition on Instagram.
He's texting me right now.
Basically look him up because his work is truly something to be seen. And it's one of the nicest, greatest guys in the industry. He just truly is. So hit him up, look at his stuff, use his stuff to get some ideas for what you want to do, because ideas spur ideas, right? And visuals just help move that along. So I don't know, Rob, what do you think? Should we clip it without Neil at the end?
Yeah,
or
I think he has completely lost us. So, but that was
we totally lost us.
Yeah.
Okay,
that was fun.
That was good. So, all right, everyone. Based on that, thank you for tuning into the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe. Always, please go to our auctions, check them out. Go to our classifieds. We've got 25 to 30,000 cars there. You will find your dream car there, I promise you. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. Rob, thanks for joining as always. Yeah. And folks, we'll see you on the next episode of the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue. Thanks for listening, folks. And again, please subscribe to the Hot Rod Barbecue podcast. If you're on Spotify, check us out there. Subscribe to it on iTunes. And if you are going to go to YouTube, make sure you go to the Hot Rod Barbecue podcast and hit that subscribe button. And we'll come to you every week.